Today we continue in the power of no, and we are continuing this short little 4-week series as we talk about sometimes we tend to say yes too much to things, and so here are some things that are important to say no to. Last week we talked about worry and how that is very challenging to us in this time. It seems like there's a lot to be worried about, but how powerful it is to say no to worry. If you didn't catch that, you can go back on YouTube or on our podcast and listen to that teaching. And then we did a great Bible study this week, and I think a little over 30 of us did the Bible reading this week together, so that was awesome. It was awesome to hear your insights. I love doing that because we get to share with each other, and sometimes somebody reads something, gets something a little bit different out of it, so that was really cool. It's a big year for me. I'm a dad of a senior, so Sam is my youngest and is graduating. And so this was one of his senior pictures, and then this was him and Steven a few years ago on the porch out there at Coffee Creek, and I'm not sure what was smelling bad, but I think this was 4th of July, like our first 4th of July, or maybe our second 4th of July, I'm not sure. So I think they were like 2 and 4 or 3 and 5 here. I really can't place it, but they both look very young, and something was up. But anyway, I was looking at this because I was looking at doing like the slideshow that I do for my kids as we get to that time of year. And I was looking at the contrast between the images. And I was looking at the contrast between my son's youngest pictures, as a child, and then the senior pictures and how different those things look. And something weird kind of hit me. I'm not super emotional, but something kind of hit me that like this is the last time I'll do this like slideshow thing that I've only done twice now, but I mean, still, it's like the last time I'll do that. And there's a lot of lasts now. This is my youngest child, and so my final high school graduation, Wendy and I did our final soccer concession stand for the band, and we were like, whew. Like there's a lot of lasts that I'm not sad about, right? I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. And but a lot of like lasts that maybe I'm like not. I have mixed feelings. We'll say that about some of those things. So I felt proud. I'm very proud of my children, but at the same time, it feels like time kind of snuck up on me, and it feels like, wow, that's not like something that I had planned. Like I thought that I would have a lot more time there, and so some of these moments, the good ones, the bad ones, the hard days. You tend to remember the highlight reel kind of stuff, but then also sometimes those bad days that you had, you're like, ugh, those are kind of, those frustration days. I look at younger parents now sometimes and how they get frustrated at their kids, and I just kind of like, man, pick your battles, dude. Like, don't get frustrated about that. That's not that big a deal, and you're not even going to care about that day anymore. That's easy to say in retrospect. I know. I like if somebody had said that to me, I don't want to slap them when I was in the heat of battle with that stuff. But like now, I look back and I'm like so silly. So many of those times that I got flustered, and I felt like just angry. And one of my favorite cartoon characters that I think about for anger is Yosemite Sam. If you remember him, he would get so angry, and it was just ridiculous, right? I mean, he would just get his face red, and he's a cartoon, obviously, so he's caricature of us, and he got so angry that it was comical, and you would laugh about it. But then if you had any sort of insight into it or any sort of introspection, you thought about yourself for a minute, you're like, ooh, that's embarrassing. I don't want to throw a tantrum like him. And then you think about your own actions, and you're like, yeah, sometimes the feeling of anger came to me, and I acted out. See, I have this theory, this working theory at least, that we can't always change how we feel. Like, how we feel is just how we feel. It's like something that's not like we're pushing a button like, I want to feel angry right now. I want to feel sad right now. I want to be depressed. Like, I think it's just something that happens to us. And if anything, the only thing that we have control over is kind of how we respond to those feelings. And anger is one of those. And we know that's true because sometimes we've gotten angry and we've just let it all out, right? And we said things we can't take back, and we said things that hurt people. We said things that hurt ourselves to ourselves. And we're just like, oh, and we have one of those teeth gnashing moments. And we're like, oh, I wish I hadn't said that. And then we've had other experiences where we felt similar anger, and somehow we were able to let it go or have a release valve, or we didn't let it have its full-on tantrum come out of us. And anyone who's experienced growth over time can look back at their younger self and say, boy, that person was, if I could talk to him, I would say, could you just chill out, bro? Like, that's not the appropriate way to handle that feeling. But it is something that comes with maturity many times. Now, some of you would argue, and rightly so, you would say, yeah, but I saw a really elderly person getting really angry the other day over nothing. And you're like, well, not everyone learns the lesson, right? Not everyone learns the lesson. That is completely true. But we all live in a frustrating world. We all live with frustrations. And the problem is with anger, when it is unexamined, it drives wedges. It drives wedges between spouses. It turns parents into strangers from their children. It can ruin friendships before they even have a chance to blossom and to grow. And so if we can do anything about it, one thing that we want to do is to look at anger, and instead of saying yes to anger and just letting anger flow all the time, is instead be negative towards anger as much as possible. And I mean our response to anger, not to anger, not to other people's anger, but to our own anger that emanates here. And just to say, no, you're not going to control this situation. And the more that we can start to look at that, the more we can say yes to healing. I want to read to you what the Apostle Paul wrote in the book of Romans, because he taught on this principle of what we do in life and how we can handle this anger that boils up in us. And it starts very simply: rejoice in our confident hope, be patient in trouble, and keep on praying. When God's people are in need, be eager and ready to help them. Always be eager to practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Don't curse them. Pray that God will bless them. Be happy with those who are happy, and weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people, and don't think you know it all. Never pay back evil with more evil. Do things in such a way that everyone can see you are honorable, and do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Dear friends, never take revenge. Leave that to the righteous anger of God. For the scriptures say, and he's quoting God here, I will take revenge, I will pay them back, says the Lord. Instead, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals of shame on their heads. And he wraps it up with this really great kind of closing statement. He says, don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. Don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. Again, that phrasing, which is why we chose love God, do good so many years ago, because there seems to be a consistent theme in the scriptures about loving the Lord your God and doing good to one another. And that it leads us down a different way, a different path. If you've noticed, and how can you not notice, but our world seems to be very angry right now. Everyone's angry. And the people that get the most attention are the angriest. And it's almost like a competition right now. Who can be the most angry? Who can yell the loudest? Who can, get all flustered the most? And it's really challenging to not fall into that and to not let that kind of take us away from, the main thing, to keep our eye on the ball, as it were. Anger not only separates us from others, but it distances us from the kind of peace that God desires for us, the way that he created us to be. And so this unchecked anger then builds this wall. It builds a wall between us and the people that we love the most. It builds a wall between us and the person that God desires for us to be. And it builds a wall ultimately between us and the Lord. And so Paul writes about a better way here. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. It's like that do or do not. Do not try. There's no try, right? And so it's like, once again, we see here's the thing. He doesn't say, here's a suggestion. Here's something you might want to try if you're bored. No, he says, do this. Do everything you can. And that's not low, right? That's not like give it, a little bit of effort. Just keep trying. Just keep trying. Because until you've done everything you can, you've not even seen how beautiful living in peace with people that you are diametrically opposed to. It's okay to be opposed to someone's political views. It's okay to have something where, someone has hurt you, and so you have a little hurt there. But what we don't want to do is to let those little things that are really inconsequential, turn us completely away from people to where we can't live at peace with anyone. because we've let anger have its way in us instead of critically evaluating anger and saying no to anger as much as possible. Now, none of us are perfect. None of us are going to be able to do that 100% of the time. But wouldn't 90% of the time saying no to anger and winning over anger be really valuable versus giving in and just letting anger ruin your life? Groucho Marx had this saying, if you speak when angry, you'll make the best speech you'll ever regret. And I feel this at a deep level. I don't know if you feel this, but I feel this at a deep level, that there's been things that, we talk about when we say something and we can't take those words back. We can't retrieve those words. James wrote a lot about this. I don't think I'm going to go into James today on this, but he wrote a lot about the power of the tongue. And there's this thing of where we feel like, people can forgive us, but it's really hard to unhear things once they're unleashed on someone. And in the heat of battle, in the heat of anger, oftentimes we say things that are not something we would have pre-planned to say, or not something that is thoughtful, but instead we say things that hurt people. And so what if we were to say no internally to ourselves to responding in anger? Just because someone insults us, just because someone says something to us, doesn't mean we have to respond in anger. I read a really interesting monastic writing this week that was talking about when you are insulted, you don't have to insult back. What you can do is instead take the insult as an appropriate way to examine one's character. Oh, I was like, dude, I'm going to have to live in a monastery for a while before I'm able to take someone's insult and receive it as a word from God, is what the monk was really saying. Like, receive it as chastisement from God. And immediately, I hope your response is, well, I'm not doing that. I see a couple of you thinking that already. I'm not going to be insulted. I'm going to assert my rights to not be insulted. But see, that's the whole thing, is like the monk was getting at. He was like, I don't have to respond in anger to an insult. I mean, he's reached a whole nother level of like peace and non-response to anger and to insult. Like, that's beyond my current level of comprehension, but I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think it's really curious and interesting. In Ecclesiastes, the preacher there says, if your boss is angry at you, don't quit. A quiet spirit can overcome even great mistakes. I mean, this is, it's not necessarily supernatural, but it's definitely above natural, right? This is not normative action. This is not what everyone else is doing. This is countercultural. This is upside down living. And it is the kind of living that Jesus implemented and showed us the way. It is the capital W-A-Y. It is the way. Jesus showed us a different way of living, and he did not respond to people in anger. So what if we were to say yes? What if saying no to anger, responding in anger, gave us an opportunity to say yes to some interesting things? Forgiveness can operate kind of like that pressure relief valve for anger. I can let things go, and it gives an opportunity for healing for me. Think about what Jesus did in forgiveness on the cross. Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. If Jesus can forgive his persecutors, the people who are being mean and persecuting his family and being evil to him and nailed him to the cross, if he can forgive all of that, surely I can forgive the small things that happen to me. C.S. Lewis, the author, said it this way once. He said, to be a Christian means to forgive the inexcusable because God has forgiven the inexcusable in you. It is a way of looking at the world differently. It is a way of exchanging the cultural context that everyone sees the world in right now for a new pair of glasses and seeing things through that lens. It is a different lens. It is the same world that we all live in. The person that lashes out at someone for cutting them off and then, pursues them in road rage is living in the same world as the person who gets cut off and just says, maybe something's going on in their life. Maybe they're headed to the hospital. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they're estranged from their family and they're hurting. And who knows? Maybe they're just a jerk. But I don't have to respond. I am not the case study for that, right? I'm not saying do as I do, because I don't chase people down, but I want to. So how on earth can we go from where we're at right now, where you're at right now, to the monastic? How can we go to that? How can we bridge, and in the real world that we all live in, how can we bridge that from where we're at to, man, somebody could insult me and I just say, literally the monk, before it was commonplace to say, was doing that little playground thing, I'm rubber and you're glue, and whenever you say bounces off me and sticks to you. Like he was literally employing that before it was a cool thing to say at the playground. What would that be like as an adult to be able to do that? What would it be like to forgive the inexcusable? Well, I want to suggest 3 practices that I think you could begin right away. You could put them, start implementing them, start trying them out. I say practice because it's going to take practice. Practice is what's going to have to happen in order for you to get good at this. First of all, just push pause. James, I am teaching out of James a little bit. Okay, there we go. James 1, he says you should be quick to listen, right? You should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness God desires. So when you feel anger welling up in you, and I don't know if you experience it like I do, but I feel it in my chest, and then I feel my face getting red, and it'll look like I have a sunburn. I'll feel it here, and then I'll feel it here. And so when you feel anger in whatever way you start to feel that, when you start thinking, I'm going to say something, I'm going to do something, what would it be like for you to pause? Just push pause for a moment. Say, I need to walk away from this for a minute. I need to think. And then what if the second thing you did were to pray about that? Just as Jesus did, hanging on the cross. How he was able to pray for those people, I don't know. That is supernatural to me. He's crucified, he's betrayed, he's mocked. And yet, his words, his prayer to the Father, Father, forgive them. It wasn't, I'll show them, I want them hurt, I want all my followers to attack them. All the things that I can run through my mind of what I would want to say. Jesus said instead, Father, forgive them. So pray. And the last thing would be to pursue peace. We just read it in Romans 12, right? Everything you can do everything you can to live in peace with everyone. So, practice these things. And I think there's probably an order to these. I think you have to stop the anger first. You have to just pause it. Even though you can't eliminate it or eradicate it initially, I think you have to pause it for a second before you do something that you should not do. Respond in a way that's not helpful. And then I think you have to pray and ask for supernatural intervention. I think you have to ask for God's help. And then I think you have to move to what is the right way to deal with this anger? How do I pursue peace with people? How can I do that? And this is not something that's difficult. You can start right away. You can try this out this week. Next time you feel that anger welling up in you, what would it be like? In that Yosemite Sam moment for you, what would it be like to push pause, to hit reset? Maybe think of it like a panic button. God, I need you. I need to talk to you right now. Seneca, one of the ancient Stoic philosophers, said it this way. He said, how much better to heal than to seek revenge from injury. Vengeance wastes a lot of time and exposes you to many more injuries than the first that sparked it. And I love this. Anger always outlasts hurt. It's best to take the opposite course. Man, that's true. Anger always outlasts hurt. We'll get angry, and we'll be angry forever. Because it doesn't just resolve on its own. It actually snowballs and builds so many times. But instead of seeking to get your revenge, what would it be like to seek to heal? My challenge to you is this. Say no to anger. Because when you say no to anger, it means saying yes to what matters most. Living the way Jesus gave us. He laid out a path for us. We call it the way. It takes a lot of effort on our behalf to live in the way. It is instantaneous to start to trust in Jesus. You can do that in a heartbeat. But to really express that trust, more than just, I trust you with my mind, to trust him on the path, on the way, and that takes a lot of practice. And so I want to invite you to do that, to discover the freedom that Jesus has for you, the freedom even from anger. He let go of anger on the cross. We can certainly let go of anger in our life.